So why did Christopher Columbus decide to go one way when all the other explorers were content to go the other way? Why did he go to the left? Did Beyonce come up in a Spotify? Well, no, that won't happen for about 525 more years. But the rest of the world's sea captains would play it safe and be content to hug the coastline of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East on the way to India and China. That's a long trip. The alternative was going overland through the Ottoman Empire and the Middle East. That was a lot more expensive. So Columbus thought, well, why not go the other way? Now, this is where people go, flat Earth! And I just shake my head in shame. Even the stupid people in the 1400s knew that the world was round. It's a pretty simple concept. That big old orange thing that comes up and spends some time hanging out in the sky, well, not in Northeast Ohio all the time, but that big old orange thing, it's round. And at night, that thing that comes up on the horizon that replaces it, the moon, it's also round. So chances are that those two things being round means that what you're on is round too. There's another simple way to tell that the world is round, and you can prove it the next time you're out on a boat. Look at the horizon and scan it from left to right, and you will probably notice that it's curved as you get to the horizon and you look as far as you can left to right. That's because the Earth is curved. Better yet, watch a boat go away from you, especially a bigger boat like a cargo ship. You'll notice that as it goes towards the horizon, you'll lose the bottom of the boat, then the middle of the boat, then the top of the boat. It's because it's going over a curved surface and the bottom disappears from your line of sight. If the Earth were flat, as distant objects went away from you, they would just get smaller and smaller and smaller, but you'd see the entire thing. So you can see the curvature of the lake. Look at these power lines. These power lines, unless somebody was really creative and made them smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, you can see how they go smaller, and you can see how they curve as you're going away from the Earth. So even middle-aged morons knew that the Earth was round. So how did the flat Earth and Columbus get hooked up? Simple. You can thank a guy by the name of Washington Irving. You know, the guy who did Ichabod Crane in The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, sometimes called the father of the American short story. Well, Washington Irving was writing a biography about Columbus in the 1800s, and he thought, well, this journey wasn't as hard as it seems to be, although I don't understand why. So he decided to make up the idea of this flat Earth theory. So original fake news. Yeah, we bought it, and we still to this day have people that buy this flat Earth. Everyone knew the world was round. So the real issue wasn't that the world was flat and you'd fall off. The issue is how round was it? So in perspective, in a relationship here, is the Earth the size of a softball, of a basketball, of a beach ball, or is it the size of a human hamster ball? And that's what was unknown. That's why everybody else played it safe and hugged the coastline. Columbus believed that it was the size that he could get around it in plenty of time. The problem was, since you didn't know how big this Earth was, you would run out of supplies. You wouldn't be able to take enough fresh water and food. Now you're thinking you're surrounded by water. That's salt water. Salt water is something you can't drink. You have to hope for rain or coming across some sort of an island that's got fresh water. And that's a risk because nobody knows what's out there. So he was hoping and banking on the fact that he would have enough supplies to make it all the way to his destination of India. So, of course, he's going to fail to complete that mission. He never made it to India. The Americas were in the way. And what comes next is certainly a different story than intended. Columbus would make the best of it, writing a letter to the king and queen, bragging about how incredible this new land was and what it had to offer, trying to make himself look better for his failure. So whether he is a hero or a villain in world history, well, that's a different conversation to have. If not for Columbus, eventually another European would have likely discovered this new world, and much of the history that occurred would probably have occurred anyway, just with a different person and maybe at a different time. So Columbus, it was all to the left, a little Spotify action with Beyonce, or taking a very big risk and trying to know that the world was exactly as round as he thought it was. And he really wasn't far off from what he predicted. There just was a continent that got in the way.